Hi, and welcome everybody. It's the OSGA YouTube channel with your host, Ross Benjamin of RBWins.com. As always, on a Monday, I'm joined by my buddy and my fellow professional sports handicapper. Let me preface that with professional, Mr. Doug Upstone. How are you today, Doug?
I'm doing wonderful, Ross. It was a nice, pleasant weekend. Things had some good things going on, both in the football side and some other stuff. So yeah, it was good. So just how about yourself?
I can't complain. Coming off a 4-0 sweep on Saturday in the NFL preseason. Also hit both of my Major League Baseball, I should say all three of my Major League Baseball top plays on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Nice run there, folks. 31-15 on the season now with my Major League Baseball 10-star top plays. So things are going well, Doug. How about yourself?
Yeah, same here. Now the NFL, I didn't do as well as you did the NFL preseason. I'll be the first to admit it. I ended up going 1-2. The Minnesota Vikings lack of offense in particular did me in. Yes, that wasn't very good, and actually their defense too. They couldn't get off the field against backup quarterbacks from Indianapolis. Let's just put it that way. So, but hey, you know what? Still, I'm up for the year. 15 out of the last 19. So I'm going to try and make it 16 out of the last 20 years in the preseason. And we have college football coming up too, Ross, this week.
Four
So
games.
That will be some interesting stuff. And yeah, some, not exactly marquee matchups, but you know what? Better to have it than not. So that's the big thing.
Well, we possibly are going to be doing another show on Thursday. Doug's going to let me know tomorrow as far as his availability goes. But folks, hopefully we can get that for you and get a college football free pick video in for you on Thursday. So 4 games on the board. And Doug, what's your observation so far through the first 2 weeks plus the Hall of Fame game in the NFL preseason?
Yeah, well, there's been a number of things that, and some of these things you can't tell for sure. For example, the Atlanta Falcons without Matt Ryan, this could be a disaster. Okay, now with Matt Ryan, they have a chance, but they have been just thoroughly outplayed, outclassed, out everything. That's if I'm an Atlanta fan, I'm not exactly excited about that. Which kind of goes along with the entire theme of the NFC so far. Because if you look at the standings for preseason football, you see a lot of 2-0s and a lot of 0-2s, and one's for one conference and one's for the other. Because there's mostly in the preseason this year. It's not this way every year, but this year in particular, a lot of crossover. So you get AFC against NFC. Right now, as we do this on Monday evening, is the NFC straight up is 4-26 against the AFC. I mean, that is horrific. I mean, that's, and against the spread, they're 8-21-1. It's just brutal across the board. Now, as we both know, Ross, it's the preseason. What does it really mean? I don't necessarily know that it means anything. But the one thing it is worth talking about is the fact that when we start the season with these games, AFC versus NFC, it's just to pay attention.
Yeah.
Okay. And if something develops where the AFC just has superior teams game after game after game, well, you know what? You heard it here first. Yeah. So don't forget that. Okay, between Ross and I talking about it. Again, I'm not saying it's a lock load or anything like that.
No, I get it. I will say this, Doug, if I could jump on the bandwagon there. I think there's something that could be said about that. I mean, let's see what happens this week. But what the conclusion I would draw off of my head is AFC teams are much deeper because let's face it, a lot of teams aren't playing their starters right now. So if the AFC is dominating the NFC in that regard, at that proportion, I would say there's a lot of teams, and you look at the Kansas Cities and the Tennessees and the Buffaloes, the Indianapolis. I mean, these are teams that are very, very deep and have quality depth. And be honest with you, it's going to be interesting what happens after week 3 of the preseason with these teams and the cuts they have to make. They're going to have some really, really tough decisions. And there's some good football players that are going to be let go. Having said that, Doug, again, we talked about the totals last week, right, buddy? And and 14-3 to the under in the first 17 NFL preseason games heading into last week. And I made the bold prediction that would be absolutely shocked if at least 9 of the 16 games didn't go over the total this week. Well, lo and behold, as we always do, we have to be transparent. Boy, was I wrong. We're filming on Monday the 23rd. There's still a game to be played tonight. New Orleans will be playing tonight. They're hosting, help me out, Doug. Yes, Jacksonville. And you never know. I mean, the total's 35.5 there, but 10 of the 15 games this week have also gone under the total. And that means that to start the NFL preseason, 2021 NFL preseason, the games have gone 25-8 to the under. That's 75.8%. I'm not going to make any bold predictions this week. Okay. So another thing that I brought up, Doug, and I know I heard you on your other video. I had Detroit as well last week. Yes, we were lucky, but a win is a win is a win, right, buddy? Because we lose games like that where we get backdoored, but we never remember the ones we win like that. And me and you both know those types of games even out over the long run. It's how we do on the lopsided games or the decisive wins or losses that matters. And favorites of 5.5 or greater this year have gone 1-6 straight up, right? But they've covered 6 of those 7 games, which goes back to what I try to do to get across before is at this time of year, meaning the NFL preseason, I'm just of the mindset that no team deserves to be a favorite by a touchdown or more. Now, that's not to say those favorites of that size don't cover, Doug, but if you go back in the annals of the NFL preseason, if you have that access, and I would challenge you to do so, you'll see that underdogs of 6 or more in the NFL preseason dating back to 1995 have covered 57% of the time. That's without even handicapping anything, Doug. So, hey, we got a little bit lucky. What could I say? But we won.
Yeah, that was nice. And, you had the winner here and I had the winner with the New York Giants with Cleveland.
Yeah.
So
there you go.
We had a nice 2-0 week here. So we'll try and do it again. But yeah, it seems like I watched a little bit of it, and I watched some different highlights too, just to start to get a flavor for what's going on. And the thing that I really see a lot of, and this probably plays into it, is a lot of short passing, not much down the field. And then when you have backups doing this, okay, and they have the inability to go down the field, well, they're just not going to put together drives, okay, without some big plays. You're just not going to put together in the preseason very many 12-play drives that go 75 yards. Okay? It's just not going to happen. So I think that's the biggest reason why there's so many unders.
Yeah, well, it's a great point, because if you watch a lot of these backup quarterbacks, especially the young ones, they got a tendency to just check down, to be safe. They don't want to make mistakes. They feel like interceptions could cost them. They want to get rid of the ball quickly so they don't let patterns develop down the field and throw the ball vertically. So, and they're not trying to fit things in the tight window. So, that all makes sense to me. Doug, you got a free play for us on Thursday night in the NFL preseason in that game between the Philadelphia Eagles and the surprising New York Jets that are 2-0 in the preseason. Break up the Jets.
Yeah, this is a pretty interesting contrast. And to me, the most, at this point, we don't know who the quarterbacks are going to be. If I'm Philadelphia, I pretty much want to make sure that Jalen Hurts plays this week after last week when he was a last second, pulled out of the action. That they're 0-2, and it's a bad 0-2 look for the Eagles. And the thing that stands out, they're being outscored 59-16 so far. And outgained by 228 yards a game, Ross. I mean, when a new coach comes in, the first thing he wants to do is institute his program. Well, Nick Sirianni is not putting in his programs too well so far, okay? Or at least he's not getting many accolades for people in the city of brotherly love. Let's just say it that way. and the other problem for them has been their defense. They're giving up 153 yards per game on the ground at 5.5 yards per carry. Now they might lead the league in sacks again. They were third last year, Philadelphia, but you know what? They better clean up that rushing defense. So I think Hurts is going to have to play well this week to gain the trust of his team going forward. On the other side, the Jets, though, how about Wilson? Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, he has looked great. His arm strength, that's all they've been raving about in the New York press, is his arm strength. And one thing I see that he's done, which was a really smart thing, both for him and for Corey Davis, the former Tennessee Titan, they've connected right away. Last week he had 6 catches. And they're on the same page. It's pretty apparent that that's the case. So I think that Jets offense looks pretty good in terms of what they can do with some, to score some points. Now, is that going to transfer or transition to all year? Probably not. And the biggest reason is because they're going from a 3-4 defense to a 4-3 with the new coach, Robert. I forget how to say his last name.
Sella.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yep.
And by the way, Doug, the Philadelphia head coach, because I'm Italian, I got to correct you.
Please do.
Nick Sirianni. I'll get you these Italian names pronounced right before before the season's over.
My mistake was I didn't ask my wife. That's my mistake. Okay,
Is your wife Italian?
Yes. Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. Wow. Yes. There you go. So, I knew I liked you for some reason.
So no, that's my mistake for doing that. So looking at this game then, Philadelphia does not appear to be in a particularly good place. The Jets seem to be in a good place. These teams, up until last year when there was no preseason, they had met every year from 2001 to 2019. They played every year. And in the last 8 meetings, the home team is 8-0 straight up and against the spread.
Wow.
The number has grown on the Jets from -3 to -4. I'm comfortably going to say JETS, Jets to cover.
Yeah, I mean, Wilson, he looks to me, the body language. Now, when I say body language, folks, I don't mean attitude, because when I mention the 2 quarterbacks, he reminds me of, hopefully he's the richer version of the 3. Jay Cutler and Jeff George. 2 quarterbacks with a tremendous arm that just looks like they're doing it effortlessly out there. Now, having said that, when I say body language, I think everybody who's old enough to remember knows Jeff George seemed to have his dauber down and was a malcontent. And Jay Cutler, you're old enough to remember him. He portrayed a guy that just wasn't having fun out there, was disgusted, whatever. I don't get that from Wilson, but the rest of his body language, the way he moves, and the strong arm, and we'll see. Hopefully he's a rich man's version of those other 2. Anyway, I'm going to look at the Pittsburgh at Carolina game, Doug. Carolina is a 3-point favorite in this game, and it surprised me a little bit, but you got to do your homework, because there's got to be a reason why Pittsburgh opened as a favorite and they're now a dog. And most likely it's because Carolina is going to play a lot of their frontline players and Pittsburgh's not. Okay. I don't let that overly affect me. For example, the Buffalo Bills played against the Chicago Bears starters in the first half last week, a lot of their starters, and they led 34-6 at halftime. Sometimes it's a matter of what team just has better quality depth. And that was one of those instances. Now, I'm not going to say that Pittsburgh is going to be up 34-6 at the half in this game. However, this is a Carolina team that's 0-2 so far. They're coming off a 20-3 home loss to Baltimore. Listless effort at that. Their defense in their first 2 preseason games has allowed 390.5 yards per game. That's enormous in the preseason, Doug. And if not for the fact that they forced 5 turnovers, that could be a lot worse. Pittsburgh, on the other hand, they come in 3-0. Yes, it's 3-0. I know it's only week 3 of the preseason, but they did win the Hall of Fame game against Dallas. They're coming off that 26-20 home win over Detroit that I alluded to, where they failed to cover as a 6.5-point favorite. The last 2 games on offense, though, Doug, 410 yards and 401 yards of total offense. And I couple that with what I just mentioned about Carolina's defensive ineptness thus far, and it looks like a good situation for Pittsburgh. Now, granted, Ben Roethlisberger did play last week. If he didn't play the whole first half, I know he played the majority of it. Correct me if I'm wrong, Doug. And he was sharp as a tack. I mean, he was like 9 for 11 for 140 yards or something crazy like that. But they're backup quarterbacks, and Doug had mentioned this on an earlier video. I don't know if he did it with me or one of the ones I watched him. He had mentioned about the Pittsburgh quarterback depth. Okay, and you got 3 guys vying for 2 positions. I think Mason Rudolph is going to be the number 2, but at number 3, you got Dwayne Haskins and Joshua Dobbs, and all 3 of these guys have starting experience. Okay, and now they've never been to. Well, Haskins was the number 1 guy in Washington, and I just think they threw him into the fire, and they rushed him along way too quickly, and he was drafted way too high, somewhat like Mitch Trubisky. If you take a little pressure off the kid, let him grow a little bit, you never know what it's going to develop. So that quarterback depth means a lot to me. And Doug, since the 2017 preseason, the Pittsburgh Steelers have gone 12-3 straight up. However, within that 12-3 straight up, they went 7-0 straight up and against the spread as a underdog of 5.5 or less. And they won those games by 8.9 points per contest. When you get that big a sample size in that short amount of time, and the margin of victory is that decisive, let's face it, if you win 7 games straight up as an underdog and you're winning them by better than a touchdown, that's awful decisive. And here's another one, Doug. Since 2018 NFL preseason, any away underdog of 5 or less, like Pittsburgh will be on Thursday evening, that's coming off a win. Pittsburgh's coming off that win against Detroit. Those underdogs of 5 or less in that exact situation, 23-4 against the spread. That's 85.1%. And those underdogs won 21 of those 27 games straight up. So guess where I'm going? Pittsburgh +3 over
there you
Carolina.
Go. Hey,
and again, Doug, tell the folks who you like again, and then how they could find you.
The New York Football Jets are my choice for free picks, and I am Doug at DocSports.com. Looking to close out the NFL preseason 2-0. We'll have a play also in the college football this week, along with staying hot in baseball, like we've talked about many of these weeks and probably going on almost 2 months now, trying to keep it going there, Ross, and see if we can keep the smiles on people's faces going forward.
Yeah, you said you were like 30 games over 500,
Yep.
Correct?
Exactly. Yes. Yeah.
So folks, and you're not dealing with guys that are giving you out minus 200 chalks. Okay. So yeah, a lot of guys could go have a really good win percentage, but then you look at the rate of return and it's not there. That's not going to be the case. You don't need us to be giving you 160 and more favorites in Major League Baseball on the money line. Anyway, you could find me at rbwins.com. Again, coming off of 4-0, last 4-0 on Saturday in the NFL preseason. I do have a play tonight, but you probably are not going to be able to get to it because at the time we're taping, it's about 2 hours away from kickoff. And Major League Baseball, again, my 10-star top plays, folks, 31-15 on a season. That's good for 68%. Until the next time, for Doug Upstone, I'm Ross Benjamin. We'd like to wish each and every one of you good luck and God bless.